The chief correspondent is back, which means breaking news. What have you got?
West Ham have decided to part ways with Graham Potter after a disappointing run of form that has left the club struggling for consistency and direction. The announcement has come as a shock to many, considering Potter was only appointed earlier this year with high hopes of ushering in a fresh era of football at the London Stadium. The former Brighton and Chelsea manager had been seen as the man to implement a progressive style of play, combining tactical intelligence with a long-term vision, but results on the pitch ultimately forced the club's hierarchy into making the difficult decision. The Hammers have endured a turbulent start to the season, failing to find rhythm in either domestic competitions or in Europe. For a club that has ambitions of competing regularly in the top half of the Premier League, the drop in performance levels was alarming. A series of uninspiring displays, coupled with a lack of cutting edge in attack and vulnerability in defense, piled pressure on Potter. The fans, who were initially optimistic about his arrival, began to lose patience as frustrations grew over both the style of play and the lack of positive results. Potter's time at West Ham was always going to be judged through the lens of his difficult spell at Chelsea, where despite being backed by significant resources, he failed to leave a lasting mark. His appointment at West Ham was viewed as a chance for redemption, a platform to rebuild his managerial reputation at a club with a passionate fan base but more realistic expectations than Chelsea's. Unfortunately, his tenure quickly became defined by inconsistency. Some matches hinted at promise, with fluid passing moves and tactical organization, but these were too often followed by lackluster performances that left the supporters puzzled and frustrated. The club's board, led by David Sullivan, had shown patience during the opening weeks of the campaign, publicly backing the manager and giving him time to settle in. However, the pressure became too great after a string of poor results against mid-table rivals and a lack of competitiveness against the league's top sides. Sources close to the club suggest that the decision to dismiss Potter was not solely results-driven but also influenced by concerns about dressing room harmony. Some senior players reportedly struggled to adapt to his methods, and there were whispers of disconnect between the coaching staff and the squad. For West Ham, the timing of this decision is crucial. The season is still young, and the board will feel that a swift managerial change could salvage the campaign before it slips away completely. The Hammers are not yet in serious relegation danger, but the lack of direction on the pitch raised concerns about where the team was heading. A new manager will now be tasked with steadying the ship, reinvigorating the squad, and bringing clarity to a project that has quickly gone off course. Potter's departure leaves questions about what lies ahead for him. He remains highly regarded in some quarters for his work at Brighton, where he built a competitive and exciting team on limited resources. That reputation was what secured him the Chelsea role in the first place, and despite 2 dismissals in quick succession, he may still find opportunities in management, particularly abroad or with clubs willing to embrace his patient and developmental approach. However, the successive failures at Chelsea and West Ham could make it more difficult for him to be trusted with another high-profile Premier League job in the immediate future. From West Ham's perspective, the focus will now shift to finding the right replacement. The club has ambitions of remaining competitive in Europe while also pushing for top-half finishes in the Premier League. Whoever comes in will need to strike a balance between maintaining the hard-working, resilient identity that supporters value and introducing enough tactical nuance to compete with the league's stronger teams. Names will inevitably be linked in the coming days, with the club expected to move swiftly to avoid prolonged instability. The sacking of Graham Potter also reflects the unforgiving nature of football management in the Premier League. Managers are increasingly judged on immediate impact rather than long-term vision, and the pressure to deliver results is relentless. For a club like West Ham, which has experienced the highs of winning the Europa Conference League and qualifying for Europe, Expectations have risen considerably. Patience for rebuilding projects has thinned, and the board clearly felt that Potter's trajectory did not align with their ambitions. The mood among supporters remains mixed. Some feel disappointment that another managerial gamble has failed, while others are relieved that action has been taken before the situation became irreparable. Many had never fully bought into Potter's appointment given his struggles at Chelsea, and the run of poor form only deepened the skepticism. For them, the sacking is a chance for the club to reset and find someone better suited to the demands of the job. As the dust settles, West Ham now face a critical period in their season. The players will need to respond quickly under interim management, and the board will need to ensure that the next appointment is one that brings stability rather than more upheaval. The departure of Graham Potter will go down as another short-lived chapter in the club's managerial history, one filled with promise that never materialized. The challenge now is ensuring that the next step is taken wisely, because the supporters are craving not just change but genuine progress.